What's going on, YouTube? I am Adam Davis, and I am the average snake keeper. And man, I am so sorry. It has been so long since there has been any content here. I just moved to a new spot, and man, this was a stressful move. I had to downsize a lot. I've got a lot of my stuff still in storage. We're living in a unexpectedly small apartment for now. We have a nice house as far as kind of like our yard. We have a huge yard. We're secluded. Nice little wooded area on the river. Very private, and that's real nice. Nice little fire pit out back. But the house is divided into two apartments, top floor, bottom floor. And my longtime roommate and I are on the bottom floor, and like we essentially have no living room. What would have been a living room became his bedroom because the only other room behind that is like maybe could have been used for an office area at most. And then the only bedroom in this house is super small, and that's my bedroom. And it's probably the smallest bedroom I've ever lived in my life. So I had an idea that we were going to be moving into a small spot. We have a little bit of storage in the basement, but I did not really quite know that it was going to be this small. So that brought a lot of unexpected changes. So even though I downsized, I had to get a new bed. My old bed is in storage. I had to get some new storage kind of units, some shelves, and all kinds of stuff. So it ended up costing me hundreds of dollars to get rid of a lot of stuff and put stuff in storage. It kind of sucked. So that was stressful, and I had to get a new car. My truck kind of reached a point in its life where it didn't necessarily die or anything, but it kind of had an impending problem. So it could have lasted me another year, 2 years. It could have lasted me another 2 months. I didn't know. Basically, there was going to be a head gasket issue, and it just, it had a problem where all of a sudden big coolant leaks and all sorts of stuff. So now I'm driving a Hyundai Sonata, and I am doing Uber driving while I'm trying to rebuild my personal training business, which, COVID kind of really wrecked all of the stuff where I was doing that. So I've been really trying to catch up, not just on rebuilding the losses from this move, doing all the driving, but just in general, the fact that I've kind of been out of work for a bit. So I've been busy. I've been trying to catch up, but I have not forgotten about this channel. I haven't forgotten about Instagram. Now that things have kind of calmed down a little bit, I've been making some money. I want to dedicate, again, more regular time, try and get out at least, I think, one weekly video. For now is going to be a good goal. So, and then here's our update. Here's kind of what this video is going to be about. So you might see, right, I've got a Sumatran short tail in my hand here, but you might, if you have been paying attention to this channel at all, I know it's been a little while, so we'll do a little refresher, but if you might notice, this animal looks a little different than the one you've seen before. It's a little darker. Patterning's a little different. It's much smaller. This animal is easily half the size, if not more like a third of the size of the other one you've seen. So this is a new animal. This is a male, so my other's a female. And this will officially be kind of my first working breeding pair. Now, this little dude is a 2020. My female is 2018, so she's maybe like 18 months, maybe at most is my guess. This guy's just maybe a couple months, a month old. I'm hoping he's probably a little bit older than that. He's about 80 grams. I've never been one to actually weigh my snakes. I always just kind of look at them and make sure they're not, losing weight, losing size, and try and make sure they don't look overfed, obese. So let me project my voice here a little bit. It's I was out real late last night driving, and then I came home to 3 animal enclosures to change, and when I end up staying up late in general, it's tough for me to get back to sleep. So anyway, that's this guy. He was labeled as Het for caramel albino. which is actually it's a really interesting morph for Sumatran shorttails. It's a beautiful snake. Personally, I really like the dark ones as far as if you're going to go for like line breeding and making these animals look a certain way. I don't actually know of, and again, I'm learning more and more. I don't know of any real other morphs for this species other than that one. Color mutation, let's call it. I think most people are more just line breeding these animals to have the orange heads, the chrome heads, or to just be real dark and basically, you know, almost to the point of jet black and patternless. So I like the darks. And then the other thing that I really like about these is just the wild patterns on them, just basically the coloration. I've got this on kind of a fixed tripod right now, but man, I love, he's a little darker than the girl I have there. Now it's really focused in, but the patterns on this animal, God, he is gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. So that's why I picked him. I'm not going to say the breeder I got him from, because I don't want to say I don't trust this breeder. They're on Morph Market. They're a founding member. They have nothing but good reviews, and they sell a lot of high quality ball pythons, like up to some really, really pricey ones. And then Sumatran shorttails are the only other animals they produce. I've just learned that there's a lot of mislabeled caramel albino hets. So I think that would be interesting if those were produced, but I generally picked this animal because I like the way he looks to go with the way the female looks. Either way, it's going to be a good, I would like to say 4-year minimum with how old the female is, if not 5 years, before I would ever actually do anything with them. All right, buddy. He gets pretty brave once he's been with you for a bit, and then he holds on a little tighter than the female will. Like, he's giving me a decent squeeze here, so it's not like he wants to suicide himself off, but he gets real curious real quick. Hi, buddy. He's a sweet animal. I've only really had one other interaction with him, and I'm trying not to bother him too much today. I want to keep this video short because I want to feed him. I've only had him since Monday, and generally I'm breaking a rule where I really don't like to start handling and working with an animal until I've got a meal in them. But he pooped last night. He actually was, and same thing, I don't know how much I like this, but he was shipped to me the day that he was fed. You know, your general rule usually with these animals is leave them alone for about 24 hours minimum after feeding, but I mean, he was fine. Like I said, he passed a movement with me last night, and his demeanor is really calm. Taking him out last night just because I didn't know the animal's temperament. Yeah, I almost at this point with any new snake, I'm like, all right, this is it. I'm going to get bit. You know, I try not to hesitate. Instinct still kicks over with me sometimes, so I'm like waiting to see what he's going to do, and he's waiting to see what I'm going to do, so he starts breathing nervously, but he didn't even huff at me like the other girl did. She was very vocal with me for a little bit. Now she doesn't fuss at all. She's pretty trusting. But he had a little nervous breathing, but he's kind of the same way she is, where once you pick him up, he just chills out, he relaxes. When I took him out and kind of, got him set up, he was pretty chill. I didn't hold him much that day, obviously. I wanted him to settle in. I just basically left him alone for a week. But, not to, again, get a lot of hubris in this, but I'm kind of not worried about him. He's very relaxed, and this species basically has a reputation for one thing on their mind, and that's eating. So I kind of think 2 days of him kind of coming out and being chill for just a little bit, I'll bet money when I put a mouse in there, he's going to eat it. If he doesn't, I'll do something silly on this channel for you guys. You can leave a comment on what stupid thing I'll do on camera if he doesn't eat, but he's going to eat. So anyway, why I have this new animal is because space opened up. Now, here's what I'm going to do to kind of cap off this video. Man, I really am running on a lack of sleep here. What happened with this move, and part of the downsizing, and part of why it's been rough to get back on Instagram and get back on this channel, is I've got a story to tell. Is part of what I had to downsize was my snake collection. There will not be a video on building my custom enclosure for my female ball python, because she does not live with me anymore. And that is after making that video where I was like, I will never rehome this animal. I had to rehome that animal. Life kind of, it hit in a way where my snakes are in a room now where there is not a lot of room. And especially to kind of keep this guy in a healthy quarantine. He's small and he doesn't take up a lot of space. But basically, my snakes are in my bedroom, the large collection. And where her enclosure, the dimension that it was going to need to be, and what I had set up for her and what I was going to build, it was not going to fit. Never mind that if it was going to be a project right now that was going to take up time while I'm really hurting to try and kind of get back into work. So basically I just kind of was like, I'm going to have to see if there is a responsible way to get her into a home where she can get what she needs. I was prepared basically to just stick her enclosure in a spot that gave me no bloody floor space in my room. But she needed out of that little tub that she was in. She's just, at the end of the day, she was too big for it at that point. She's still a healthy growing animal. I remember when I put her in my big cleaning tub, I was like, holy crap, she's gotten big. So what I did was I made an adoption questionnaire, and I basically copied it. If you go to bloodpythons.com and you go to inquire to buy one of their animals, they have this thorough adoption kind of form, and it's a vetting process to make sure that their animals are going to a good home. And I basically took that nearly word for word because it's good. And I wanted to make sure that even though she was just a normal ball python, that somebody who knew their stuff and who was going to care for that animal was taking it. Excuse me. Especially since kind of what I didn't want to happen was, never mind just somebody trying to pick up, an affordable ball python with an enclosure and everything that I was going to give with her just to get a snake. The other thing I didn't want was somebody eager to breed just to pick up a female and pick up a female normal and just kind of create another bunch of cheap snakes that are also going to go to not that great, living conditions. I do know there are breeders out there that are able to use normals in a breeding project for certain reasons, but I also know there's a lot of guys, like I said, just out there just saying, all right, I want to breed, I want to make some snakes, and I don't care, I just need a female. And again, it's, she was just a normal. She's a pet store normal. She's not going to make anything other than either normals or half normals. So I didn't want to, like I said, just kind of have somebody eager to do that. So the guy who ended up inquiring about her lived about a half hour from me, and he's a ball python breeder. Not just, wanted a pet, not just wanted, have a maybe collection of animals, but worked exclusively with ball pythons. Himself had a situation where he once had to move and rehome his collection with like a cousin or something. He'd been in a situation like mine some years back, and was rebuilding his collection, and he kind of was in a scenario where I'm in, where he's refocusing what goals and things he wants to work with. And for him, it's just ball pythons. He managed to get his boas out to some breeders a little while ago, and now he's looking exclusively to do ball pythons. So I checked out his place, and I checked out, he's got a really nice rack system. And, you know, he was telling me about his quarantine procedures and things like that, everything that he would do for a new snake. And the most endearing part was that I met his kids. And I saw how they interacted with his ball pythons and how much they loved. And they were super gentle with them. And how they're a big part, or his hobby, his snakes are a big part of their lives. And just like what kind of joy and passion that he was able to share with them and how much they loved it. And all I could think was, man, I can't offer that to a child right now. I really wanted to try and get into stuff like educational programs. I have a friend of mine who does stuff at the local library with tarantulas, which is pretty cool. But she kind of lucked into that, and it's like a once a year thing where she does it. And this year she's doing it through Zoom. You know, COVID, I think, has really kind of come into kind of mucking about with projects like that. I'm going to put you back soon, buddy. I don't even think he's being stressful. He's just super brave and curious already at his size. Where are you going to go? Where are you going to go? You'll get yourself in trouble. So anyway, like I saw that, and I knew not only were these snakes, you know, or was this snake going to go to a home where she'd be cared for just by somebody who knew how to care for these animals, but that they would be appreciated by a lot of people there. And one thing I've come to kind of know about ball pythons, as far as me keeping them, and again, you know, really deciding that, you know, as far as the things that I wanted to eventually produce was going to be Dumeril's boas, short-tail pythons, and then eventually boa imperators. That balls, you know, they weren't something I wanted to breed just because they didn't excite me in the ways that these animals do. I don't find them as interesting to keep and to work with. I found ball pythons very sweet animals to keep. They're kind of a good pet. Buddy, man, you are just all about moving right now. But how I kind of view them is a ball python is the pet snake I wish I had as a kid and I never had. And ironically, and I think I've said this before, I would have never been able to give a ball python the kind of care that I gave one now, and the way that I've raised them from babies to adults now. I'd have never been able to do that as a kid, mainly just because the internet didn't exist in the capacity it does now. I would have never been able to network with the kind of people that I have, even just online, and get the kind of standards of care. I would have definitely had them in fish tanks with probably like red bulb lighting and, man, shitty thermostats if I even knew about thermostats. So it's a blessing and a curse. But, you know, this guy has quality, you know, he's got quality racks, he's got herpstats running these things, and he's able to now share something like these animals with his kids. And like I said, that really kind of sold me. What was I going to say? Either way, that's kind of the point that I'm getting at. That sold me on thinking, all right, she's going to a good home, and she is going to give these kids something that I wish I had as a kid and that I can't offer a child right now. I don't have any children. So I offered for a small rehoming fee her, plus the enclosure that I was going to kind of make the rack around, her hide, a water dish, some heat tape, and a Vivarium Electronics thermostat for a fee. I'm not going to even discuss how much I charged for that, because I wanted to make sure not only, you know, were they going to a good spot, but that they went with quality equipment and housing. And while I made that deal with him, he inquired, do you have any other ball pythons you're willing to part with? And I already didn't make this decision lightly in the first place, but I didn't consider this other offer lightly. But again, knowing the kind of care that he was offering, knowing the home that he had, and knowing at this point how I knew I kind of felt about where ball pythons really, you know, what kind of place that they would have in my collection, the direction that I did want to go, the space that I have now for these animals. I do have space for a collection of snakes, but it's a small one. You know, about 4 is kind of where I want to have it. We're not living here permanently. It is a temporary setup. We have a lease till the spring. But I kind of, you know, started thinking about, again, it's what focus do I want to have here? What direction do I want to go in? This channel is one thing. I definitely hope this grows. But overall, you know, I'm growing on Instagram still pretty rapidly. That slowed down, obviously, because I slowed down with content. But, you know, I'll be at 1,000 followers soon, and I'm networking with a lot of great people there. So, you know, I'm growing a following of people who enjoy what I say, what I do, what I put out, you know. And again, I want to share basically 3 species with the hobby, the 3 species that are kind of exciting me the most. And I think my goal is to kind of have a working pair of those 3 species. So literally just to have 6 snakes and make sure that I've got 3 healthy breeding pairs. And again, in probably about maybe 5 years, hopefully, be set up and ready to start producing and sharing some of these animals that I love working with so much with other people. And that is my goal. You know, it's not to create world's first morphs and try and sell things for thousands of dollars, or even, you know, $1,000. I know the Doom Rose boa market is all kinds of crazy right now. I'll talk about that in another video, but it's really just, you know, I want to obviously I have an idea on what I want to make with the animals, on kind of how they look, but it's more right now is, you know, I want to produce these species because I love these species. So I made him the same offer for both of my ball pythons, you know, and it's, again, I didn't make that offer lightly because I did love those animals. They're sweet animals. They were good pets. But, again, I knew kind of where I wanted to go, and it would free up space for me to basically get this little guy in the collection and start moving further towards my goals. So the little banana guy is gone too, and, you know, he was sweet. I'll miss both of them. But same thing, I offered him up with a tub enclosure. He had a heat mat on his, but it was a pretty well-suited enclosure. Both of them are just going to work for the quarantine enclosures anyway. They would have suited for fine enclosures just for their lives, as long as you had a heated reptile room. But he's going to put them in the rack once they're out of quarantine. But I supplied him with a hide and a water dish too, and then I supplied him with it's a analog Herpstat thermostat. So it's a Herpstat Easy one. I have a bunch of those as backups at this point. They're fine. They're you know, it's a Spider Robotics thermostat. It's reliable. I've moved on to all the digital models. I just like those a lot better. You have a better idea of what's going on in your enclosure without constantly checking it with a temp gun. But same thing, I know that both of those animals have reliable thermostats regulating them, and that, you know, he'll have 2 reliable backups if he ever needs it. I even sent him with spare fuses for it. So I just know they're doing okay, you know, and that puts me at peace of mind. And I know that I'm making kind of the right decision, because I still had, you know, as much as I loved that little banana ball python, he was a sweet, sweet animal. I still always had kind of a little bit of regret trading the Doom Rose boa away for him. You know, as much as that Doom Rose boa was super frustrating to work with, the fact of the matter was that I wanted a Doom Rose boa to work with and not another ball python. And I kind of, at the time, I let that frustration get the better of me. So, you know, I took a trade offer just to let the frustrating animal go, and to take an animal that would be easy to work with instead of taking an animal that I wanted to work with species-wise. Now, I do have a Doom Rose boa now, and he's quirky, but I love him. You know, he's not hard to work with. He just sometimes likes to do weird things to me. The other day, he was sitting up and looking up at me, and then he took his tail and whacked my hand away. And it's been a while since he's done weird stuff like that, but you know, he eats and I'm not afraid he's going to bite me. Versus rehoming the balls. Like I said, it was, it was sad, but I'm confident they're in a good spot. And I don't feel some regret about, having another short tail to work with and not focusing on ball pythons. It doesn't feel that same way versus letting the Dumerils go. So anyway, that's the state of the collection now. And that's going to kind of be where, we go from here. You're still getting the point of view of just an average snake keeper, but you're getting the point of view of the average snake keeper who's getting a little bit closer to a better idea of what he wants to do down the road and the kind of species he's going to work with. So your average snake keeper probably has a few ball pythons in his collection. This one no longer does. So sadly, I can't do that husbandry video on that species. I can probably still talk to you a little bit on how I had their setups. I might be able to just get a tub and kind of show you what I was doing. But you're going to see short tails, boa imperators, Dumerils boas on this channel. And hopefully there's not a lot of people showing a lot of short tail python contents. So you guys can watch me as I kind of grow with and raise these two guys. All right, I've had him out for a while. He's been super sweet, but I can't tell if he's antsy or curious at this point. He doesn't seem to be super flighty. He's still holding on to me well, but let's get him back and let him alone for a little bit, and we will feed him in a day or two. All right, guys, I'm Adam Davis. I'm the average snake keeper. I hope everybody is having a good time. There will be more content, so if this video was interesting to watch, definitely longer than I wanted it to be, give it a like. And if you want to see all the new content that we'll be doing, please subscribe. And have a great Sunday or whatever day you're watching this video. All right, guys. Peace out.